Welcome to the Republican Party primary election candidate forum for candidates participating in contested races. I am Catherine Oler, President of the League of Women Voters of Corpus Christi. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. We neither support nor oppose candidates of any political party. Since its founding more than 75 years ago, the League's mission has been to promote voter awareness of candidates and issues and to encourage individuals not only to register to vote, but also to vote in all elections. This forum was recorded on Wednesday, February the 10th, 2022, and posted to the Corpus Christi League of Women Voters website and Facebook and YouTube pages. Recordings of this event may not be used without the express written approval of the League. The League will only allow audio video of this event to be broadcast in its entirety, except by media reporting on the event. The races featured in this recording include the following: District Judge, 117th Judicial District, State Representative, District 34, State Senator, District 20, State Senator, District 27, U.S. Representative, District 27, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4. I will now turn the mic over to Paula Brighton, Vice President for Voter Services, who will serve as moderator for this forum.
Thank you, Catherine. Here is how tonight's forum will proceed. In a given contested race, each participating candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for an opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement. Between these two statements, candidates will be asked questions by the moderator. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to each question. Normally, rebuttals are not allowed. In unusual cases in which a candidate makes a reference to the position or record of an opponent, a brief 30-second rebuttal may be allowed at the discretion of the moderator. The timekeeper will hold up a card to remind candidates of time limits. So let's begin the candidate forum. And then we'll start. Okay. All right, our candidates for District Judge, 117th Judicial District are Mr. Bill Kelly, and this is in ballot order, and Ms. Susan Barclay. So let's begin with opening statements. Mr. Kelly, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this seminar, or forum. My name is Bill Kelly. I'm running for the 117th District Court. I have been an attorney for 36 years. I'm a board certified attorney, which means that I have tried enough jury trials, done enough appeals, and got the recommendation of the judges that I practiced before and the attorneys that I practiced against to recognize me as a special legal talent, which allowed me to take a day-long exam to call myself board certified. I've also been a public servant for most of my public life. I have served the community as a city councilman. When I got off the city council, I served on the Metro Ministries Board. And for those of you that are not familiar, that's the organization that runs Loaves and Fishes and Rainbow House, along with several other programs. I've been a Cal Island School Board member, and I currently serve the community as a Del Mar Regent. I also am a member of St. Thomas the Apostle Catholic Church, where me and my wife both serve our church family as Eucharistic ministers. I think it's important to point out my community service because prior to aspiring to be a judge and judge the members of this community, I think it's important that you have a long history of getting to know the community and getting to know the people that you will be judging. Important decisions, and I think that that is a serious part of the equation when judging what to do with others. Thank you for your consideration. My name is Bill Kelly, and I would appreciate your support in my quest to become the judge of the 117th District Court.
Thank you very much. Judge Barkley, your 2 minutes.
Yes, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, first of all, to the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum, and good evening, Mr. Kelly. I currently serve as the presiding judge of the Title 4D Court. I was appointed to that court in 2017 by the 5th Administrative Region presiding judge, the Honorable Missy Maderi. In that court for the last 4.5 years, those specific, cases are filed by the Texas Attorney General's office, and they filed those cases seeking to establish child support and medical support for the children of Nueces County. Along with those cases come the custody and visitation disputes, and often I have to make determinations on whether an individual is incarcerated or placed on probation. Prior to my appointment in 2017, I had my own law office where I practiced primarily family and criminal law. I also practiced appellate law, where I filed briefs and conducted oral arguments before the 13th Court of Appeals in both family law and criminal law matters. Before I had my own law office, I worked with 2 different law offices. Christi. We practiced most types of cases, many complex civil litigation matters. I've got practice with multi-district litigation, declaratory judgments, the gamut of all that civil litigation firm entails. That was a very valuable experience. Prior to becoming an attorney, I was a cardiac surgery and critical care nurse for 16 years. And when my husband left the Air Force, I had the opportunity to go to law school. It was something I always wanted to do. And that's where the transition in my careers occurred.
And Judge Barkley, we'll start the first question with you. Who are your judicial role models and why?
Well, I have had the benefit of great judicial role models. When I was appointed the judge of the Title 4D Court, I have been able to sit in on the Board of Judges meetings, and we are very blessed in Nueces County with 8 district judges. We have 5 county court at law judges, and we have a great judiciary here in Nueces County. I believe I would, I can name them all for you, but we know who all those judges are. They've been great role models and a great resource for me to turn to when I first began and had questions regarding specifics of procedure or how does a judge begin doing these things. And it's been a great pleasure of mine to learn from them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, well, when I talk about judicial role models, I go back to when I was a younger attorney. And one of the first was Judge Mike Westergren, who was judge of the court. And Judge Westergren and I worked together on several projects to improve the legal practice, in particular family law practice in this area. He and I both recognized the trauma that children often went through when their parents were fighting at exchanges. And at his encouragement, we created a visitation center to avoid that problem. He also encouraged me to join the first board of CASA, court-appointed special advocates. And then the incumbent at the 117th District Court. She was also a board certified family law lawyer like me, further along in her career. And she was a great mentor to me as I was building my own practice.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Kelly, we're going to start the second question with you. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
Well, since we're talking about my quest to become a district judge, I'm going to focus on sources of legal information, and of course go to the codes, family code, code of criminal procedure, code of civil procedure, and follow up my research in codes with the case law that where the various appellate courts are interpreting what the legislature had done and give the attorneys guidance and the judges guidance on how to apply these laws as they apply to specific facts that will come before the judges. I think that I am known for being a legal tactician and understanding the codes and being thorough in my research with case law.
Thank you very much. Judge Barclay?
Would you pardon me,
Sure.
would you mind repeating the question, please?
No problem at all. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
Well, this may sound very self-serving, but when I'm researching regarding elections, of course, the vote, it's 411.org, I believe, is a great resource to research candidates and find out their different stances on things, if you will, or their positions on different matters. Of course, judicial candidates, it's a different type race because you cannot give advisory positions or say how you would rule on different cases. I think another great resource is Google. There's a lot of information on there. Of course, you have to be careful because there can be things on there that may not be truthful. If it's a local race, you have the benefit of knowing a person that you can delve back into your personal information, or ask colleagues if you don't have that personal information, colleagues that have practiced with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Judge Barclay, we're doing the last question, starting with you. In your opinion, what is the central goal of sentencing in criminal cases? Please explain.
Well, in criminal cases, it is very important, I believe, to treat each case individually. And of course, in the district court, we have juries that most often determine guilt. Sometimes the judge determines the sentencing phase, if you will. But each case has to be treated individually. We know there are some very, very bad crimes that occur, and there are other crimes that occur because of mistakes that people may make, and those mistakes may occur because of drug usage, or perhaps a person has a mental illness and those cases have to be treated differently. I have a strong belief that justice must be tempered with mercy. I don't think there's any cookie cutter, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
First and I guess foremost is there have to be consequences for those people that commit crimes, and sentencing is part of those consequences. We would hope that individuals who are incarcerated will take advantage of that opportunity, maybe get an education and become more productive members of society. Another aspect of sentencing would be to protect the public from those individuals that may seem irredeemable, protect the victims of crimes so they are not re-victimized by somebody who seems unrepentant. So there are numerous factors that need to be considered, but when we're focusing on what is the basis for sentencing, I think that those would be the top priorities.
Thank you very much. So we are at the conclusion of this forum. Mr. Kelly, if you would do your 1-minute closing statement, please.
Okay. Once again, thank you to the League for providing this forum. My name is Bill Kelly, and I'm running for the 117th District Court. I have the extensive legal experience that would be necessary for the type of person you'd want to be on the bench, but I also have the community connections and the community service that I think is essential for anybody who's aspiring to judge other individuals in this community. Because of my community service, because of my lengthy legal experience, I believe that I'm the most qualified individual to sit on this bench, and I'm asking for your vote. Once again, I'm Bill Kelly, running for the 117th District Court. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Judge Barclay.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. When, when I heard or realized that the presiding judge of the 117th would be retiring, I have served the community the last 4.5 years as a judge, and I decided that I can serve in a greater capacity. I decided that I would run for the 117th because that court is a general jurisdiction court, and the judge sitting there hears all types of cases. I have practiced criminal law, I've practiced civil law, and I've practiced family law, and made the determination that I would like to serve my community more, that I have more to give of myself. And that is why I decided to run. I'm Judge Susan Barclay, and I'm running for the Republican nomination for judge of the 117th District Court. Would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, candidates for District Judge 117th Judicial District, for participating in this forum. And we will see you at the ballot box.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brighton. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Ms.
Now we
Barclay.
just go ahead and leave, Ms. Brighton.
Yes, ma'am. So we are welcoming Mr. James Hernandez tonight to this forum. He is running for State Representative District 34. His opponent, Ms. Vaughn, was unable to make it tonight. And since the league has a no empty chair candidate policy, what we will do is have Mr. Hernandez present a statement for up to 3 minutes. And then there will be no questions asked. So, Mr. Hernandez, are you ready to begin?
I am.
Okay, 3 minutes.
I do got a quick, it's just going to be us on here.
Yes.
There's no other attendees or candidates?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is James Hernandez, and I'm running for Texas House of Representatives for District 34. A lot of y'all I have a great relationship with already. For those that don't know me, I would love to build a better relationship with you. First, I want to address the elephant on the Zoom room. I had to go from my phone to computer to my iPad. My iPad was in the room. So hence the reason that there's a headboard behind me. I'm in my room. But that's electronics these days, and this is the new world we live in. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to run. No place in Texas, or no place around the world, but here in Texas, can somebody like me run for state representative. I grew up with nothing. I grew up homeless. My first house was the women's shelter. I'm proud to say that today I'm a small business owner. I give back. I'm a Leadership Corpus Christi alumni. I'm involved with my community in all aspects. So I love that I have a great relationship with our council, with our commissioners, our state representatives, and I look forward to continuing the legacy here in District 34 that Representative Herrero has made. I have a great relationship with Representative Herrero, and I've spoken with him before. And the thing that I always want to tell everybody, right now, it's just a political hot pot when you bring up politics. The truth is, it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm glad that I have a great relationship with Representative Herrero. And I told him, and I'm going to tell everybody here, I'm not running against him because I don't like him. I'm running to carry on the torch of strong Hispanic leadership here in District 34. And I would hope that each and every one of you can support me and support our cause to be able to bring a different view of representing our community, but while continuing the legacy of those that have came before us. So I hope that y'all can join us this Monday. It starts early voting, and a couple of weeks is the final day. And when it comes to voting, take your mom, take your dad, get everybody involved, your brothers, your sisters. And if you have a vehicle that works, take them too, whether it's for me or against me, take them out there. My first time voting was in 2016. And in those short amount of times, I've worked my way up in the Republican Party. I've worked my way up in the community. I've worked my way up, whether it's working with the women's shelter, making donations to the West Side Business Association, to the Chamber of Commerce, different organizations like Leadership Corpus Christi. So I hope to highlight small businesses in our community to be able to help grow small businesses. As a small business owner, I strongly believe that if you protect your small businesses, or what's good for small business is good for all business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. Thank you,
you so
Mr.
much.
Hernandez, and have a good evening. We'll see you at the ballot box.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'll lay the ground rules out for you and then, okay, here we are. So gentlemen, you'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and we'll take turns answering 3 questions and then a 1-minute closing statement for each of you. Our candidates for Texas State Senator District 20 in ballot order are Mr. Wesley Wright and Mr. Johnny Partain. Let's begin with an opening statement from Mr. Wright. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Wesley Wright, and of course, I'm running for State Senate District 20. I'm a Christian. That's non-negotiable in any light. I'm a real estate broker by trade. I sell farm and ranch property all over the state of Texas. I'm married. I've been married to my wife for closing in on 20 years. We've got 2 children. We've got a daughter that's 18. She's going to be going off to school, to college in the fall, and she's planning on becoming a U.S. Marshal. There's nothing will stand in our way of that. Both my children rodeo. My son is 14. Who knows what he's going to do? He's all boy. He ropes and plays basketball and baseball, and he thinks he's going to be a professional athlete of some nature, which I wish him luck. And he's got a lot of drive, so that's very much a possibility. I grew up in Nueces County. I'm a 6th generation. Live on the same piece of property that my great-great-grandfather settled. I grew up day working cattle, and I'm just a good, hard-working guy. I don't like what's going on in our politics right now, so that's the reason I decided to run. And I'm hoping I can do something that will show. I'm not going to settle for what's going on in our government at this time.
All right. Thank you very much for that statement. Mr. Partain.
Thank you. I'm Johnny Partain. I'm running for Senate District 20. I've grown my family up here in South Texas. I'm from McAllen. I was an engineer for Baker Hughes. I worked in the oil field for many years. I started a couple businesses. I now own 2 electrical contracting businesses and a construction business and a transportation business. Anyway, when you start interacting with people, lots of things happen. Lots of good things happen. Sometimes bad things happen. But what I've noticed is that government gets more and more into our businesses, and there is this new normal out there that I just don't like. Now, I have been working for about 10 years trying to change things. I've gone to the Texas Senate and Texas legislature twice, and I've filed petitions trying to change the law, trying to make some constitutional amendments to give people the authority to make government accountable. Everyone thinks they can make government accountable by electing a new representative, but it doesn't happen that way. The system protects itself. And what I'm trying to do is to open the system up so that people can say, hey, I saw that, I know it's wrong, but I'm not just going to say something. I've now got the tools to do something. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I didn't get much response from our current incumbent. And since I like to make things happen, I've decided to run for Senate myself. So I'm Johnny Partain. I'm running for Texas Senate District 20.
Okay.
I won't need the extra 15 seconds. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. So, Mr. Partain, we're going to start the first question with you. Which public servants, past or present, serve as your role models and why?
Oh, wow, that's out of the blue. Well, I guess Reagan would be the best one. I mean, I know he was an actor. He gave good presentations, good speech, and he was very common sense. He made things happen, but at the same time, it's just like he and with Trump, people were able to snook him a little bit, and they were able to get away with a few things. So they would be the closest things to my role model.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Wright, your role model.
I'm going to say at this point in time in our lives, I think Ted Cruz is a great role model. He stands up for what he believes in, and he's a no nonsense kind of guy. And I appreciate that about Ted.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Mr. Wright, the second question will start with you. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
I'm going to have to say my wife is probably my most trusted source of information. She reads and researches all the time, and consequently, she goes far and above what most people would do as far as research. And she looks at people who have Christian values and gets both sides of the story. So I would have to say my wife.
Thank you very much. Mr. Partain?
I don't really rely on any one source except maybe my daughter, but what I've come to find out is that as I talk to people, everyone has an idea of what's going on and what's happening. I talked to this one fella, he was a doctor. I told him that I seemed like I was getting a lot of help from certain people that really were supporting other people that were doing things that weren't supposed to be doing. And he told me I was right. He says, you are getting that support. He says, I work at this certain place and I can guarantee this is what's happening because I'm a psychiatrist. He says, most of the psychiatrists work for the government and we try to help people do their jobs against their own wills, violating their own ethics. So I like to listen to people like this. I like to listen to people that actually are working these positions because we need help.
All right. Thank you so much. And Mr. Partain, the last question will start with you. Texas gained population over the last decade. However, COVID-19 showed young people they could live and work anywhere in the world with good internet access. What legislation would you propose or support that would entice young people to put down roots and raise families in Senate District 20?
I guess the best way to accomplish something like this is to open up the internet so that it's not so controlled by any one party, to make it more of a public resource so that if you want to come to our district, you can, you don't necessarily have to work as if you're in another city where you have to transport yourself to work. You can live on a farm, you can live on a ranch, you can enjoy life the way I think that you were meant to enjoy life. And you can work from your office or your vehicle if you want to. I mean, but right now, I don't know how many other people are being censored, but I can't get on Facebook to do anything, and I can't get on Google to research anything because everything's shut down. And I know that this is a more of a international problem. I think states like Texas would probably lead as far as opening up the internet to everybody.
All right.
Maybe I'd start there.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
I don't know what the correct answer would be there as far as passing legislation to entice people to come to District 20. District 20 has a lot to offer as far as, we reached the Corpus Christi Bay and the port and we reached the border down in Hidalgo County. So we're very diverse, but as far as the legislature to entice somebody to come down here, I just don't know. I know this, and I'm open to having meetings with the people who live in District 20 and get their ideas, because as a public servant, that's what we're here to do, is be a voice for the people. So if I get elected, I'm going to have these open forums to where people can come voice their opinions, and if it makes sense, we'll do it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wright. So we're at the conclusion of this portion of the forum. Let's conclude with a closing statement from Mr. Wright. 1 minute.
Thank you. I am, once again, I'm Wesley Wright. I'm running for Senate District 20, and when I get elected, I'm going to do just what I said. I would love to have open forums, be it the county or city, and let folks come in and get their opinions of what we need in District 20, and then take that back up to Austin and fight to get what we need in our district as far as improvements. And I appreciate everybody's time and consideration. Once again, I'm Wesley Wright. I'm running for Senate District 20. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Partain?
Yes, ma'am. Once again, Johnny Partain, running for Texas Senate District 20. I've got a website. It's at txcongress.com. Visit there. I do put out blogs every once in a while, and it looks like I just got a donation too. So if you want to donate, that would be fine. I will be out in the Robstown Gun Show this weekend if you want to come meet me. And I look forward to it. Anyway, I do have skin in the game. I've been fighting these fights for a long time. They're really spectacular. I love doing it. I'm pretty successful at doing this, and I look forward to getting some backing and to show people how to make things happen. Once again, Johnny Partain, Senate District 20 in Texas. My domain is txcongress.com. Forget seeing me on Facebook. It's not worth your time. And you might be able to Google me, but maybe try to use DuckDuckGo or something else. That seems to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, candidates for Texas State Senator District 20, for participating in this forum. And we will see you at the ballot box.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Johnny.
See you later.
So go ahead and, all right, candidates. This is the candidate forum for Texas State Senator District 27. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes to do an opening statement. Then we will take turns answering 3 questions, and then a 1 minute closing statement. Our timekeeper over here will let you know how much time you have remaining. Okay, so in ballot order, we have Mr. Israel Salinas and Mr. Raul Torres. Let's begin with an opening statement from Mr. Salinas. You have 2 minutes.
And thank you for having this forum, and I really do appreciate everybody reaching out so that way I can be a part of this. I'd like to say that my name is Israel Salinas, as you said, and I am a blue-collar, hardworking individual. I call myself the common man conservative because I do not come from money or politics. I actually have a blue-collar job, and I have had a blue-collar job my entire adult life. Currently, I work for San Patricio County Parks Department. I cut grass, trim trees. I ride on a backhoe, on a lawnmower. And before that, I was a correctional officer, a substitute teacher, a waiter, an electrician's helper. I've had several different jobs. And each one of these jobs has given me a unique insight on what the needs of the everyday common American and Texan have. And that is a unique experience that I have, and something that I can be able to relate to the men and women that are here in South Texas working, struggling, and just wishing that they would have representation that is more like them instead of somebody who they would feel is more detached from them. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for inviting me here, and just thank you again, and have yourselves a great time. And I hope that we enjoy ourselves.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Torres?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If there's other viewers that are tapping into this broadcast. Thank you very much, ladies, for hosting this event and allowing the public to be able to have access to the candidates in this type of format. My name is Raul Torres. I am a candidate for Texas Senate District 27. I'm a former state representative for District 33, and I served in the legislature from 2011 through 2013. I am also a CPA for 27 years, married for 47, 9 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. I'm a small business owner. I currently own 3 small businesses. I am running this race because I believe that I am the one candidate who can bring attention to the various needs that are taking place in South Texas for a way too long time. We have serious issues. We have border security issues. We have water issues. We have flooding issues. We have infrastructure issues. We have the highest dropout rate in the state and among our high school population. We have the highest teenage pregnancy rate in the highest, probably in all of the United States. I want to bring attention to these issues in the legislature because they've been ignored largely for many, many decades. We need special funding to address these very specific targeted issues so we can improve the quality of life for all South Texans. I believe my experience, my business experience, my training, my education, and my service in the legislature, which has a proven track record, will be the answer to our many problems we have not been able to resolve over the years. Again, my name is Raul Torres, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Torres, we are starting with you with the first question. Which public servants, past or present, serve as your role models and why?
Well, I'm going to narrow it down to 3. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Ronald Reagan. Each of these men inspire me in a different way. Each of these men exhibited a different type of courage that was the right kind of courage that the nation needed at that time to keep the nation together and to bring unity to the nation and healing. We need that type of leadership in South Texas. For too long, we've been divided between Democrats and Republicans. We need to come together. I did that during my first legislative session. I worked effectively with my peers across the aisle, and we're able to get some really cool legislative bills that have never been done before in the nation passed out of the House unanimously, like 147 votes to 2 or 3. So I know how to work and get things done because it's not about party, it's about working together and finding common ground.
Thank you. Mr. Salinas, your role models.
I would say 2 of my role models are Alexander Hamilton and Ronald Reagan as well, interestingly enough. I chose these 2 individuals as role models for myself because they show what it's like to be somebody who can actually make a very large impact on the world, even though you are outside of what would constitute the norms as far as political convention goes. Alexander Hamilton in 1776 was 21 years old. I'm a 27-year-old man. So it goes to show that young people are able to make very big impacts when it comes to politics and when it comes to forming and progressing a nation forward. And Ronald Reagan, as we know, he wasn't a politician. He was just an average American. He was a good person who was tired of seeing the way things were going and decided to stand up and make a change. And arguably is probably one of our best presidents we've ever had in this union. So it goes to show that the common man has the ability to make the change.
Thank you very much. To start the second question with you. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
Well, as far as trusted information goes, it's one of those things of you really want to take your information that you get with a grain of salt. So I wouldn't say that there's actually a large amount of news organizations or information media that I wholeheartedly trust. Is actually the best way to go about it is to pick and is to gather your information from various sources, and somewhere in there lies the truth. And when it comes to politics and getting information on your candidates, some of the best resources are local agencies, local groups that have gotten together. They have a common mission of just being able to reach out to individuals and let them know what's going on. So those are the types of people that I trust more than big, well-funded, padded organizations. So things that are local and dedicated to the truth rather than something that you feel and can sense that there's an agenda behind.
Super, thank you. Mr. Torres, your trusted sources of information.
Thank you, ladies. I like to read all kinds of publications. I like to watch Fox Business, and I like to listen to Fox News as well as the other, what do you call them, cable services, to get a different perspective of what's going on. But there's really a big hole missing in our community about the real truth. As we've known, we've heard this argument about bias in the media and fake news media and all of these other charges. But the fact of the matter is, before all that even happened, there was a lack of truth in the community. When I ran and I served, I became known as a very transparent representative, and I brought news home back to our community, our district, and our city and our county to let people know what was really going on in Austin. I intend to completely continue that path of transparency and educating the citizens back home about what's really going on, because Austin, by its habit, chooses not to tell us everything.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Torres, we'll start the last question with you.
Okay.
Texas gained population over the last decade. However, COVID-19 showed young people they could live and work anywhere in the world with good internet access. What legislation would you propose or support that would entice young people to put down roots and raise families in Senate District 27?
I believe we need two primary factors to keep people at home. Number one, or three, pardon me. Number one, we need to improve our higher educational system in South Texas. All our good talent has to leave the area because we don't provide them those programs here in South Texas. We have not received our fair share of funding, in my opinion. Number two, we got to create thousands of new jobs. And I have an economic plan to do that for our region, right? And number three, we got to provide them with the infrastructure and that they need to find the quality of life that all Americans want, which is, some people call it the American dream. I believe we can do that in South Texas. We have all the right resources. We just need a little help so we can get started.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Salinas.
So some things that I would be focusing on to help people want to establish their roots here in Texas are going to be the first and foremost is expanding opportunity down here in South Texas, bringing in and seeing different ways that we can expand industries and to create good, great, and long-lasting permanent jobs down here in South Texas. On top of that, we want to make sure that when the people get here, because they're going to be coming here for work and this opportunity, that when they get here, they see that it is actually less expensive to live here in Texas. That goes to making sure that our regulations are lower when it comes to housing, so that way we can lower the cost that it is to build and sustain your own home. That tackles property taxes. That tackles things that tackles the everyday cost of living that the average person is going to have. And we want to make that as low as possible to make ourselves competitive on the national stage. And on top, and then above that, when you want to establish and make yourself a family, you want to make sure that your education is rooted in just truth and nothing more. I learned this from one of my teachers that said,
thank you very much, Mr. Salinas. Your time is up. Okay, so we're at the concluding remarks portion. Mr. Salinas, you have 1 minute to do a closing statement.
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody that has helped to put on this forum. It's great to see that there are organizations that are dedicated to educating voters. You have all had this kind of conversation amongst yourselves over what kind of person you'd like to represent you. If you're tired of the common and the average type of politicians and the same old in Austin, don't vote for it. If you want somebody to represent the working man, vote for a working man. My name is Israel Salinas, and I humbly ask for your support in the Republican primary for Senate District 27. Thank you all, and have a good night, and God bless you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres.
Thank you, ladies, once again, for the marvelous work you do for the community. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe I'm the most qualified candidate to get things done in Austin for District 27 and for the overall health and well-being of the state of Texas. I am the most experienced in the legislative process. I can hit the floor running without any hesitation. I have the financial background to provide sensible, proven strategies to fix the many issues that we have. And lastly, I have the will and the time and the backbone to make things happen for our community, because I will not be shut down at all. I will speak the truth, and that, ladies and gentlemen, will always prevail.
All right, thank you, Mr. Torres. And thank you, candidates for Texas State Senator District 27 for participating in this forum. And we will see you at the ballot box. Okay, gentlemen, if you could turn on, for those of you who do have video, if you could turn that on, please. Okay, so we are here with the candidates for U.S. Representative District 27. Our candidates in ballot order that we have tonight are Mr. Chris Mapp, Mr. Michael Cloud, and Mr. Eric Morales. Mr. Andrew Alvarez and Mr. AJ Louderback were not able to join us unless Anel is waving at me.
I wanted to ask Mr. Mapp if he could see us. We can't see him, but if he can't see us, he can't see the timekeeper.
Oh, that's
I cannot.
That's right. You know what? I will just let you know how much time you have left. That's true. Well, we will make this work. Okay, so for those of you who can see us, we do have a timekeeper over there who has some time cards. We'll start this with 2-minute opening statements, and then we'll take turns answering 3 questions, and then 1-minute closing statements. And we will start with Mr. Mapp, actually. So go ahead and get started, and I'll tell you when your time is up.
My name is Chris Mapp, and I am running for Congressional 27th because I believe that our country is in the process of being systematically dismantled. And this really has a very large effect on me. I've been in business in the district for 27 years, and I am been married for 39 years. I have 4 children grown, and I have 5 grandchildren. And I would like my grandchildren to grow up in the same opportunity to grow up in. And that means with the same opportunities, not with guaranteed outcomes, not with critical race theory or social emotional learning or Marxist. I want to represent our district back those things that I feel our country has lost or is in a losing. And I really want people to know that I just completed my bachelor's degree August 25th, 1 years old. I'm a huge believer in education. Get there because I've worked my entire life. But let me just tell you something. And I think it's the type of education that matters. And I think that's a big thing what we're talking about here in District 27 is education and the right education.
Mr. Cloud, your 2-minute opening statement.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Just okay. It's great to be with you this evening, and thank you for hosting this. We are certainly at a critical time in our nation. We are not where we were maybe even a generation ago, where the difference between the right and left was more of a nuanced discussion of between the right way to get to this shared space we wanted for our families and our communities. Especially in DC right now, we see that the left has been completely taken over by a Marxist push to push us into a country that does not adhere to the principles of the Constitution. Those principles peace and prosperity to this nation that's caused us to be a shining city on the hill for so many people. And tragically, in this last year, we've seen law and orders, that incentive structure has been almost reversed by this administration. We've seen energy, why we allow a Russian energy to be produced. with what we're seeing to the situation we have in the Ukraine, not to mention the inflation that it's caused on the American families here, that can't get fertilizer, or fertilizer prices have quadrupled. Everything, massive trending that's led to inflation. We have a lot of work to do to continue to restore a free market principle that will work for the American people. We've been working on those issues here in Washington, but also here in our district. Had the opportunity to work with President Trump on getting the expansion for the port of Corpus Christi that put America on the front of the energy dominance space for a time, and also provided. We've been advocate supporters of what's going on at CCAD and Naval Air Station, and even through the pandemic, working with hospitals to make sure that they had the supplies they need, but also in Washington to push back on the misinformation of what's going on, and trying to get the CDC to adhere to science and everything that's going ahead of us right now. But we're working on all fronts to do what we can, American people.
Thank you very much.
District.
Thank you. Mr. Morales, your 2 minutes. Your 2-minute opening statement.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First off, I want to thank y'all for inviting me to this forum and allowing me to participate. As you know, my name is Eric Mireles. I'm a native to this district, born and raised in Robstown. I've got over 20 years in the oil and gas business. A lot of it was overseas. Started off here in South Texas as a roughneck digging waste ditches. From there, my career took off very rapidly, from engineering roles to instructional roles, executive management roles, various types of management roles, and business development, which led me to my current position. I got a small consulting firm that I operate in West Texas. Very small, but very effective. Tend to stay busy. With my experience, I've learned a number of things. One of them is I've learned to adapt in many types of with obstacles thrown my way. Another thing is I've learned to engage with the community, which I feel is very important. I feel there's a big disconnect with our community and certain seats in our with our political world. I like to bridge that gap, and I feel with my experience and the type of work I've done, it comes as second nature, I guess you can say, for me to engage with the people around me and learn from them. I'd like to take that and use that to best represent them in Congress, God willing, if we get elected. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Mapp, are you able to come back and join us?
He doesn't like my voice.
I wonder if his phone went off.
It might have gone.
No, I muted him, so he now, and now I've unmuted him. So
Okay.
hopefully he should be able to come back in.
Miss,
On my screen, it's showing his phone. If y'all can see the same thing I can.
yeah. Anel, can you switch that?
There we go.
Here we go. Okay, we'll start the question part of this forum. Mr. Mapp, you are first up with the first question. Which public servants, past or present, serve as your role models and why?
I think he's.
Let go off.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yes. Did you hear the
Okay, good.
question, or would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, thank you. No, you're fine. Thank
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Sure, and I can answer that very quickly. So when we look at, I think we would say in my generation that I would look up to for so many reasons. I think that would have to be President Reagan. What an amazing man that governed in a way that other of the country. And he had such a steady hand. I really like Trump's policies. I think he really showed us many things. But Mr. Mapp, who would you want to emulate as that public servant? I think today, in my lifetime, that would be President Reagan.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Morales, your role models.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
I would have to say if we're going to be talking about political role models, I would say Bobby Kennedy. I feel a lot of the things he stood for and a lot of the accomplishments he had were very key to the success of this nation. And I feel he was not as valued as much as his brother, who's a lot more famous, I guess you can say. Bobby Kennedy did a lot for this country, and he worked behind the curtains quite a bit, helping his brother achieve many things. And then when he had the opportunity to try to run, it didn't quite work out for him for obvious reasons. But I think the way he engaged with the community and the people, the responses that he got from the people, I felt were almost unduplicable. And I would say he is one of my role models. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And Mr. McLeod? Mr. Cloud. I knew I was going to say that at least once.
I've gotten that my whole life. Not a problem.
Okay, you've got 1 minute, please.
Yeah, this is one where my answer is kind of similar. Think about the temperament he brought to the office. I think of how he communicated about a vision of America. I really like President Trump's policies and what it meant in a practical standpoint of us becoming a strong influence once again in the world. And we can go policy after policy after policy. I won't do that due to the limited time, but I'd also like to mention really George Washington as well. And I know that sounds trite, but if you really study his life, he had an understanding clearer than many of the founding fathers about what the potential of America could be, the uniqueness of our founding principles, the fact that we could be a city on a hill, that this was an experiment in self-government, and all those beautiful things that we need to make sure continue, as Reagan said, to pass on to the next generation. And so to be able boldness and clarity of thought of Trump with the ability to communicate it effectively to the American people, but that overarching vision of what it means to be America.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Morales, the second question, we will start with you. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
Oof, I would have to say my fiance. She is a child crimes prosecutor here at the district attorney's office in Nueces County. She's very diligent. She's a huge advocate for people in fairness. If there's anybody I know that has integrity with the things she does, it's her. Integrity, I guess loyalty is another thing I would say with her. So for that, yeah, absolutely. My fiance, she drives me to be a better person every day. And because of that, I feel, I admire her and the work that she does working with these children. So yeah, I would say my fiance. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mapp, we're going to go to you second. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, you're fine.
Okay, you're good. Okay.
So there is it's an interesting question. My daughter, who's a school teacher, left her job to help me on the campaign full time, and we make it a point to listen to 4 different radio shows every single day in our district to hear different perspectives. Of course, I have my TV on Fox News, and occasionally I catch Newsmax as well. But I also make it a point to really find out what's going on. I make it a point to listen to people I don't always agree with. And I listen to Bill Maher every Friday that I can when he's on, because if you want to know what topics are coming or what's really happening, the world of comedy is the greatest news source to forecast either what policies are being thrust forward, what policies don't work, or possibly how the policies were viewed or even skewed. So I also do a lot of reading. I'm reading a book right now by Peter Schweitzer, Red Handed, which outlines chronologically and factually so much of what's happening in our country. Yes.
Thank you. You're at a minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cloud.
Well, my schedule doesn't afford me much time to watch the news, and I've often said that, the news a lot of times is like a funhouse mirror. A lot of times, we can stand in front of the one that we think accentuates the parts that we like the most, but a lot of times we're not really getting the truth of what matters, 10, 20 years from now. When it comes to what is informing me, a lot of it is reading the legislation. A lot of it's studying what's going on, asking questions from a number of different individuals. I would say I've often said that my first task as a representative is to listen to the American people. And so when it comes to representing someone's voice in Washington, we don't need a bunch of eggheads in Washington in a place 2,000 miles away writing the policy for the rest of America. What we need is people who are listening to the people who are in the boots on the ground in every single industry there is, because as much as we'll study, those people who are living and working in it 24/7 are going to know really what's going on and let that inform the legislation that we're passing in Washington, D.C.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Cloud, the last question, we'll start with you. Can small businesses and entrepreneurs compete with the analytics available to large corporations? And what, if anything, could be done to make the marketplace competitive again?
That is a very good question, and especially in the climate we see right now, where there are some multinational corporations. One that just came out recently, we would have thought this is a great USA company, but they've grown to the part, and so much of their market share is in China, that they've come out and declared we're a multinational company who happens to have headquarters in the United States. And so we see this a lot, where these multinational companies are actually selling out the American worker and going for the almighty dollar, even if it means supporting rogue nations who have the worst interest of the world at mind. And so there's a lot we can do to shore that up. One of the big things is regulations, and making sure that it's funny, because a lot of big companies will actually support and overburden some regulation because they have the army of lawyers. They have the people who they can hire to do all the paperwork. And a lot of times it puts an undue burden on what could be competing and even market shifting industries and companies who would like to enter an industry. And so
thank you very much.
But
yep.
that gets us down the road a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Cloud. Mr. Morales?
Ma'am, can you repeat that one more time?
I can. Can small businesses and entrepreneurs compete with the analytics available to large corporations? What, if anything, could be done to make the marketplace competitive again?
I think they can. I think given the opportunity, absolutely they can. I think their views from being a small business come from a very different standpoint than larger corporations. And I feel that with smaller business, you engage more with the community you're serving. I would say finding balances between technology and the amount of people you would like to hire, I think would help tremendously with our economy. I feel if we go too far in any direction, it's either not efficient or, it minimizes jobs, which is also hurtful to our economy. So I feel finding balance in that would be crucial to any business, really, in almost anything in life.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morales. Mr. Mapp?
I'm going to ask you to repeat the question because it actually had a couple of different facets to it. So would you repeat it one more time?
I sure can. Can small businesses and entrepreneurs compete with the analytics available to large corporations? What, if anything, could be done to make the marketplace competitive again?
I do not believe. I own two businesses. One is a manufacturing company and the other one is a retail company. And I can tell you that I cannot compete on specific manufacturing scales just because of the scale of economy. So I'm not going to compete with Walmart or Handy Dan or Home Depot. Let's be clear on that. However, because I am small business, I have the ability to give better service, outflank, and outmaneuver that larger corporate cookie cutter type of business. So the small business people that I'm talking about that I represent are usually between 0 and 10 or 10 and 50 or even less than 200 employees. So the answer is we can't compete on their level of magnitude, but we can out customer service and we can outflank them based on our ability to move and to be able to be nimble. So in that area, yes, but not overseas and not across borders, not very well.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing. Mr. Mapp, we're at the concluding part of this section of the forum, and you are first for your closing statement. You have 1 minute.
So in District 27, I believe that our representation could be better. I feel like the lens that I see the role of government, especially today, is different than the lens that our incumbent sees. And I'll give you a little bit of an example. Because I am a small businessman and because I own a manufacturing company, because I see revenues that fluctuate between $3 and $5 million, I see what it takes to have that type of revenue stream and sign the paychecks and pay for the health insurance, to pay the taxes, pay the mortgages. I understand all those things from that business perspective. And I think it's absolutely critical that when we go to Washington, we have to look at things through the eyes of the consumer and the eyes of the producer, not necessarily always the eyes of the legislator, because our job is to come back to where we came from once we've gone to serve our time. So that's really my closing statement, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Perfect timing again. Mr. Cloud, your minute.
Got to unmute. Okay. Yes, we've been hard at work serving the people of the 27th district, and it's been an honor to serve for sure. We've also had a number of successes for this district when it comes to pushing forth a national agenda that's best for America, but also benefits the jobs and economy here at home. And so we are at a critical time in our nation where we have an administration who's abusing the civil liberties of Americans, who has put our economy on a glide path to cede our energy independence to other nations who do not have our best design in mind and who actually have the evil intent for the world. And so we need to continue to move us back to an energy independent nation. We need to continue to champion the civil liberties of Americans. We need to make sure we're pushing back on these attempts we've seen threat tags put on parents at school board meetings. This is an overreach of an authoritarian government that needs to be put back in its constitutional box. We've been championing these issues and on the forefront of all of them, and we'll continue to do so with the help of the good people of 27th District.
Thank you very much. Mr. Morales.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Being from here and having a large presence here with my family, friends, and whatnot, I feel gives a very unique perspective to the area that I'm trying to represent, being that my business operates here. And I also operate in a business that is one of the foundations of economic growth in this area, which is oil and gas. I mean, almost everything is pretty much interconnected to what oil and gas is doing. I'd like to see the gap between the community and our politics, especially in Washington, bridged. And I feel that I'm somebody that could really engage with the community properly and bring that together with full transparency. I feel transparency and communication will be key to any kind of improvement in this area. And I'm just hoping to bring that should I be elected into U.S. Congress for this district.
Thank you very much. And thank you, candidates for U.S. Representative District 27 for participating in this forum. We will see you at the ballot box.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. For this group, we have the candidates for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, including Judge Duncan Neblett Jr. and Mr. Michael White. And candidates, we will have you will have the opportunity to do a 2-minute opening statement. Then we will take turns answering 3 questions and then a 1-minute closing statement. And our timekeeper here will hold up time cards to let you know how much time we have remaining. Okay, so let's begin with Judge Neblett, your 2-minute opening statement.
Okay. Thank you very much for hosting this. My name is Duncan Neblett Jr. I'm the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 4, Nueces County. That's Port Aransas and Padre Isles. I've been the Justice of the Peace for the last 32 years. I'm also the city judge in Port Aransas and have been for the last 42 or 3 years. I'm a graduate of the University of Texas got my BA there. I went on to law school at the University of Houston, graduated from there 3 years later in 1967. And I've been licensed to practice law for the last 55 years. In addition to my formal education, I've had well over 700 hours of continuing judicial education. That's required by the state of judges to have at least 20 hours each year of judicial education. My wife, Georgia, and I have lived here in Port Aransas for the last 45 years. We have 3 grown boy children, 2 of whom are lawyers. The third one works in the oil and chemical industry down in the Galveston area. I've been involved in many civic and charitable organizations around town, been president of the school board, president of CCA, Ducks Unlimited, Port Aransas Rod and Reel, and the Port Aransas Boatmen's Association. My wife and I have been actively involved in all of those organizations since that time. You say we moved here, stop.
Thank you very much.
I do that all the time.
All right, Mr. White, your 2 minutes.
Well, thank you for having us. I appreciate this. My name is Michael White. I long background. I moved to Corpus Christi about 11 years ago. Prior to that, I was doing some legal work in San Antonio. But kind of after college, I ended up joining in the Coast Guard for a while. And part of that had me stationed in Small Boat Station, Port Aransas, in the reserve unit there. And really kind of actually stayed in the old station. I slept a lot of nights when they still had housing there. And kind of really fell in love with the area. As I moved on to college, my bachelor's degree in political science, and then a master's in public administration, urban planning, international policy administration. From there, I decided to be a school teacher. I taught at Corpus Christi Carroll and Converse Judson and coached swimming. And various changes in my life kind of led me into law school. I graduated from law school, started my own practice. I did that for a bit and decided I kind of like prosecuting. Prosecuted child abuse cases in the JP court cases in Webb County. Boss lost the election. I ended up back in private practice. Started teaching at the University of Texas, San Antonio, the pre-law program and kind of political philosophy. From there, finally ended up back prosecuting in Victoria. An opportunity came to return to Corpus, where I bought my house I currently reside in, and I joined the district attorney's office here. I'm currently the grand jury prosecutor and liaison to the police department. This morning we impaneled 2 grand juries, so we can keep working. And I look forward to bringing a little more energy and time to the court. With my background being kind of varied, gives me the experience to handle the variety of cases that the courts have. They're it's rather, it's a small court, but it handles a lot in a broad area.
Thank you very much, sir. And Mr. White, we'll start the first question with you. Who are your judicial role models and why?
Well, there's a couple different ones. I would say the judge, Sarah Garahan from San Antonio, she's passed away. She would always every year receive more votes than anybody else just overwhelmingly in partisan races, non-partisan. And the reason is she ran a very calm courtroom, and her rulings you knew were going to be fair because she always followed the law. It didn't matter whether she liked you, didn't like you, whether you were her friend, it was the law. And it's a judicial disposition and approach I really like. My other favorite, and I've read a lot of his book, I read his book, is Justice Clarence Thomas. He writes very clear, concise, and he's a very strong constitutionalist, and I like that.
Thank you very much, sir. Judge Neblett?
There was a judge in Corpus Christi many years ago. His name was Noah Kennedy. His family had been involved in Nueces County ever since the early 1900s. Noah was a friend of my father, and I got to know him as a young lawyer in Houston. He would come to Houston to hear Houston cases. And when I moved to Corpus Christi in Port Aransas 45 years ago, he sort of took pity on me and appointed me to several criminal matters. And I always was impressed with the way he handled his courtroom. He was a hail fellow, well met, but he was very stern and efficient in the way that he ran his court. But he never failed to give both sides the chance to say anything they wanted to say. And I feel, stop, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No worries.
All right.
Okay, Judge Neblett, we'll start the second question with you. Part of the League's mission is to educate voters. Who or what are some of your trusted sources of information and why?
Well, as a judge, your source of information is the Constitution and laws of the United States and of the state of Texas, as well as the case law that's changing every day. A judge is not allowed to go outside of the evidence that he hears on the bench to investigate or to find out the other side of the story. It's up to in a civil case, the plaintiff's lawyer and the defense lawyer to present their evidence, and that's all the judge can consider. In a criminal matter, it's the same way. The state has a burden of proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt, then the defense has an opportunity to examine their proof or cross-examine.
Thank you very much. Mr. White?
Well, Judge Neblett's correct. In the cases, you have to listen to the parties and ascertain the admissible evidence that they present and make your judgments based on the evidence that's or admissible evidence before the court. The prosecution is kind of similarly. Your question mentioned about voter education and my sources on that, I believe. With I actually read a lot of, probably conservative news sites as well as some liberal news sites, so that I kind of am aware of what's going on in the community and what's important, and to see multiple perspectives on viewpoints. Now, if I'm elected judge, you have to follow the law first and foremost, and absolutely. However, understanding what's going on in the community and how your decisions impact and the significance of an event can affect some of your rulings and outcomes based on magnitude, not on direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for the last question, we'll start with you, Mr. White. In your opinion, what is the central goal of sentencing? Please explain.
Well, in sentencing, as you mean like in a criminal case? Yeah.
Any way you choose to interpret that,
Okay. Well,
as it pertains to the justice of the peace.
Well, the justice of the peace, well, actually, I'd say all courts, and even my approach as a prosecutor, you want to seek justice. And justice is an interesting thing because it involves a lot of parties. It involves justice for the victim if there's a direct victim in the crime. Sometimes it's justice for the community. Some damage has been done, the thing, the misbehavior, the disruptions, and also even for the offender, because justice, what we want is we want to change the behavior. And cases before the justice court aren't massive. I mean, it's mostly fine only. There's a few that have collateral consequences, license suspensions, financial aid, or things that roll forward from that. So you want to be careful that you get a change of behavior without destroying a life or without going too far, because then the rehabilitative or the justice is lost and it almost seems retributive as opposed to a sense of real justice for the community.
Thank you very much. Judge Neblett?
Well, the goal of sentencing is to strike a balance between, is in a criminal case, to strike a balance between what the law requires you to do. There's a range of punishment if you're found guilty of a criminal offense. Just say, for instance, in a 32 to 10 years in the penitentiary. Now, if the sentencing is left up to the judge considers the facts that he has heard and certainly considers the circumstances of the defendant, of the victim, and the interests of the state. So the judge always strives to be fair, and to balance those is something that experience on the bench teaches you.
Thank you very much. And now we're at the closing statement portion. Judge Neblett, you have 1 minute to make a closing statement.
Okay, well, thank you all for hosting this event. I pledge to continue the record that I've established over the last 31 or 32 years. That's a record of a court that is known around our part of the county and our city is fair, impartial. We run a very professional operation because I believe the court should be run with dignity. That doesn't mean that people don't come in or able to come in and talk in court to the judge who they happen to know. But we've kept pace with our docket through hurricanes, COVID, new technology, and we are totally current in our docket and not a bit behind. And that's something that not many courts can say.
Thank you very much. Mr. White?
Thank you again for having us on. If elected to the court, I bring some new energy to it, would be a goal. And one of the big things I would like to do or have is be available 24 hours a day for officers for warrants, reviewing them, and those matters. I've worked exceptionally hard through my legal career and actually every profession I've been in to be good and fair in it. And the advantage I believe I bring to the court with a diverse background, when you're approaching problems, the diversity of your life, your own life experiences, help give you a lens that's more detailed to interpret the world through and apply justice in the court. And that's my primary goal for the community, is to do that and to be available, to be the judge who's there. If an officer needs me at 3 in the morning, I'll wake up, I'll review their work, and I'll sign if it's appropriate. Thank you.
And thank you, candidates, for Justice of the Peace Precinct 4 for participating in this forum. And we will see you at the ballot box.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Now what? That's it?
Okay. And go ahead and leave it recording. I'll do the closing. All right. And in closing, thank you, President Catherine Oler, Annelle Neal, our Zoom facilitator, and Steve Schultz, our timekeeper. The League of Women Voters of Corpus Christi appreciates these candidates, not only for their belief in the democratic process that we enjoy in our nation, but also for their commitment to public service and the sacrifices they have made to participate in the campaign process. Be sure to check out the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. By entering your address, the vote411.org website will produce an electronic My Ballot for your specific address that shows all the races and candidates you will see on your 2022 Republican Party primary election ballot. printed copies of English and Spanish state election voter guides provided by the League of Women Voters of Texas, and a 24-page guide to local races compiled by the League of Women Voters Corpus Christi are being distributed. For locations, visit the League of Women Voters Corpus Christi website at lwv-cctx.clubexpress.com. Remember, early voting starts Monday, February 14th. The Corpus Christi League of Women Voters website also contains up-to-date election information, including early voting centers. And as a reminder, recordings of this event may only be used with the express written approval of the League. This event must be broadcast in its entirety, except by media reporting on the event. On behalf of Catherine Oler, President of the League of Women Voters Corpus Christi, as well as all the members of the League of Women Voters Corpus Christi, thank you for watching this Republican Party primary election candidate forum, and we will see you at the ballot box.